Welcome to the Museum of Russian World History. I will be your tour guide, and today we will be learning about the Russian holidays, customs, beliefs, traditions, and other topics. Please follow me this way as we pass by the map of Russia.
Wow, Russia sure is big.
Yeah, Russia is really big. It's almost 1.7 times bigger than the US and the biggest country in the world. Russia is also filled with many people, and with that come very diverse backgrounds, with Russia having up to 185 different ethnic groups residing there to this day. But that's enough of the map for now. We will now be learning about the holidays in Russia, starting with the earliest one, New Year's holiday. This happens on January 1st, and the Old New Year's on January 14th.
Why is there an old New Year's?
The Old New Year's is actually a more traditional New Year, following the Orthodox calendar and meant to be spent privately with family. But New Year's on January 1st is celebrated more like New Year's in the United States, with concerts and fireworks. The history behind New Year's is actually that it used to be on September 1st, but in the 1700s, Peter I wanted to westernize Russia, so he moved it to January 1st. The most popular and tourist friendly place to be at this time is actually in Moscow at the Red Square, where fireworks are set off at the St. Basil's Cathedral. And similar to Christmas trees in the West, the Russians use a New Year's tree instead and decorate this to celebrate the holiday. Russians also tend to have a late dinner on this night while the president comes on TV and celebrates Russia's achievements in the past year. And this concludes the Russian holiday of New Year's. Follow me this way for the next one. Our next holiday is Christmas, which is celebrated on January 7th. This holiday has a couple traditions attached to it, some being fasting and nightly church service. Christmas, however, isn't that big in Russia, at least compared to New Year's, because it's more of a private religious holiday. And also, instead of Santa Claus leaving presents under the Christmas tree, Father Frost leaves presents under the New Year's tree. But that's enough of Christmas from Russia. We will now be moving on to our next holiday, Defender of the Fatherland Day, which is held on February 23rd. This holiday serves to celebrate those who were in the Russian armed forces, both men and women, but unofficially it's come to include all men and serve as a counterpart to International Women's Day in Russia. The history behind Defender of the Fatherland Day is not really known, but it was first celebrated in 1922 as the 4th anniversary of the Red Army. Because military service in Russia is obligatory for men, women often give presents and postcards to their male relatives. And even some local parades can be held to honor the military and veterans. This brings us to our next holiday, International Women's Day, which is celebrated on March 8th to celebrate women's rights and suffrage all over the world.
So it's kind of like Mother's Day?
Well, unlike Mother's Day, International Women's Day celebrates all women, not just the mothers. Men and women both celebrate this day by giving gifts to their female relatives or friends, and it's also a day to relax at home with family. Gifts given out can vary from flowers, chocolates, candies, to more extravagant gifts, depending on how meaningful that person is in your life. In Russia, International Women's Day was first recognized in 1917 by Vladimir Lenin. The history behind this day dates back all the way to 1908 in New York City, when thousands of women protested against their horrible working conditions. And although the first National Women's Day was held in the US in 1909, this movement took a revolutionary turn in Russia at the International Women's Day demonstration in 1917. And 4 days after these mass demonstrations, the Russian Emperor Nicholas II stepped down from the throne, and the provisional government granted Russian women the right to vote. And after International Women's Day on May 1st comes Spring and Labor Day, are also referred to as International Workers' Solidarity Day, and commemorates the achievements of the labor movement. This day was chosen to celebrate the Haymarket Riot and strikes in Chicago of 1886. These riots were in protest to the establishment of an 8-hour workday and is now the holiday in countries across the world. And in some countries it's celebrated on a different day, such as in the US on September 1st, also known as Labor Day, or in the UK on the first Monday of May. However, this day is meant to celebrate these achievements. It's seen more as a day to celebrate the beginning of spring and a day to relax. And that's pretty much all there is for this holiday. We will now be moving on to Victory Day, which is celebrated on May 9th and commemorates Germany's surrender to the Soviet Union in 1945. This was the end of the Great Patriotic War in the USSR, and in the 4 years of fighting, millions of citizens' lives were lost. For this day, people gather at military parades and celebrate veterans, and one of the biggest parades on this day is held in Moscow's Red Square. One of the traditions for this day is to hand out flowers, typically red carnations, to veterans and laying down wreaths at memorial sites. The red carnations represent the Soviet Russian flag that these veterans had fought under, and laying down an even number of these shows remembrance and mourning. And now we're moving on to the final and newest Russian holiday. Taking place on November 4th, we have the Day of National Unity. This day commemorates the Russian uprising that freed Moscow from Polish-Lithuanian forces on November 4th, 1612. Kuzma Menin and Dmitry Bazarsky were both leaders of this uprising, and flowers are left on their monument to show respect. And there is also a service held by the Russian Orthodox Church for Lady Kazan, whose feast day is also on November 4th. Unity Day was actually celebrated until 1917, but in 1918 the Bolsheviks replaced it with a new holiday on November 7th. However, in 2005 the Russian parliament removed November 7th and brought back November 4th. The greatest thing about Unity Day is that it supports and celebrates patriotism and tolerance between all the diverse ethnic and religious groups in Russia. And this brings us to the conclusion of our tour. I hope you had a great time learning about the Russian holidays. Thank you.